Okay, number 12.
Yep.
So last week we spoke more about mind and body, sort of mental health and how it translates into the physical, but diving a bit deeper into the mind. This week, focusing on that topic in particular.
For sure. So, last episode, like Lewis just mentioned, we basically spoke mostly about how having a strong physical body and physical routine and physical discipline equates to mental strength and mental discipline. Do you know what I mean?
They're a marriage together.
100%.
So if you haven't watched that one, go back and catch up.
And now in this one, we're going to dive a little bit kind of deeper into the mind specifically, and how the mind basically creates your reality and the sort of rules to the game, basically. Make
Rules
sense?
to the simulation.
The rules to the
isn't it, pretty
simulation,
much?
yeah.
So should we start by talking about thoughts, planes of reality, how your thoughts are the highest sort of vibrational energy? Is that a good place to start?
I think before we even start with that, first thing we should start with, before we even go into the topic, is understanding that basically how the eye works. Eye, again, words, spelling, spells, well, again, probably a separate podcast and all that, but the I, and the I as in the me, is very... there's a reason why they call the eye, the physical eye, the eye. Do you know what I mean? So the reason is because my eyes are basically perceiving the whole of reality, but the whole of reality is just a projection in my brain. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? So how we see things is all in our mind. So now we can go a little bit deeper into how you perceive certain situations in your mind then becomes how you perceive it in the physical plane as well.
So there's one universe, but there's 7 billion worlds. We all have like our own world. It's all like our own sort of, like you said, mental projection as an individual.
Exactly.
Back to the, not a drop of the ocean, you're the ocean and the drop sort of thing.
Yes, exactly. So the whole universe is this massive ocean, and we are all individual drops of that ocean with our own unique perspective, you know. So that is really our superpower. Our superpower is how we perceive things, you know. For example, I'll give you an easy example. I might say be walking here, and on the way here I trip over on something, you know, and you might find that funny, or it might piss me off, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, this tree stump, why was in my way? And you know what I mean? So automatically in my reality, I'm the victim. The tree stump has done something wrong to me, and everything is kind of out to get me, sort of thing. That's just my perception of what happened. The thing that happened is completely objective, but our subjective interpretation of what happens to us on a daily basis is basically our full superpower, you know. So we can look at any and all events as positive or negative, you know. So yeah,
That's when we speak on programming your reality. The episode's called Programming Your Reality because of exactly what you just said. It's subjective. It's how you interpret different situations that, you know, affects the way you feel about certain things, your outlook. So should we start with the thoughts?
let's start with the thoughts. Yeah, for sure. So before anything in this world becomes a physical existence,
Object.
it starts off as a thought form.
So
God's thought form, the universe is a thought form, the cosmos is thought form, if that makes sense. So I am a representation of one of God's thoughts, one of God's characters that he wants to play out and kind of experience the whole of reality as, you know.
Everything in front of your physical eyes was first thought of into reality through the thought, through the third eye.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Through your internal
Yeah.
eyes.
Like everything in front of you
Yeah.
is the result of a thought. Must first, for it to have been birthed into this physical plane, it must have been a thought first.
Before I was alive, I was an idea or a thought between my mum and my dad. You know what I mean? This iPhone that we're recording on was somebody's idea before it became a reality. You know, this bench, somebody thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice to put a bench in this specific place because it's a nice view. So then it becomes reality after it becomes a thought. Make sense? So that's the power of our thoughts. You know, our thoughts literally mold the whole of our reality. So we need to start to train our thoughts just like we train or discipline our physical bodies. You know what I mean? Because the mind is a very good slave, as in if I'm in control of it and I'm telling it what to do, then it's very good for me. But if it's in control of me, then it can cause a lot of trouble. You know what I mean? Just like our physical bodies, you know, our physical body craves sweets, chocolate. It's easily addicted to blue light on screens and this, that, the other. But we have to discipline our physical bodies as well and be like, no, you're not allowed to have this chocolate, or not allowed to binge watch videos on TikTok or whatever. You know what I mean? So we have to do the exact same thing with our thoughts. When we start thinking in a victim mindset, or we start thinking negatively about, oh, nothing ever goes right for me, or what, you got to start, hey, check my thoughts and reel them kind of back in, and be a little bit disciplined with how you speak to yourself, you know, because like I said, it's literally a superpower.
Being conscious in those moments, like you said, to retrain and sort of like whip yourself back into shape. So the thought is the highest level of sort of vibrational energy or frequency sort of thing, and that's why your mind or your mindset is called a mindset, because it's like you're tuning your mind into a radio. Like your thoughts aren't created solely. You tune into a certain frequency to receive them. That's why it's called a mindset. You're setting your mind to a certain frequency. So if you go back and watch the other podcast, if you're constantly distracted, you know, in your environment, different, you know, we spoke about phones and vapes and processed sugar distracting you. You can't set your mind to the highest frequency, because these products will set, like, they're designed to keep you at a lower vibration rather than letting you achieve the highest, which is the mental plane.
So just to give you some practical step-by-step things that you can do. The first thing you can do, again, we mentioned this in the previous podcast, but I'll mention it again, is just being consciously aware of your thoughts. That's basically what meditation is. It's just, excuse me, because ultimately I am not my thoughts. I am the spirit that thinks the thoughts, that observes the thoughts. Do you know what I mean? Thoughts can kind of hit you from different things. You know what I mean?
You're like the Bluetooth speaker. You're just spitting out, sort of thing.
Yeah.
You receive it and you just spit it out.
Yeah. I'm the receiver of thoughts, so I can receive somebody else's thoughts. I can receive random thoughts from the cosmos or whatever, you know. So once I start to meditate and just observe my thinking, then I can start being like, wow, look at all these thoughts that they don't serve me any purpose. They're not even my thoughts. God knows where I've accumulated them from. Now I need to kind of clear the bins in my mind. We spoke about clearing the bins in your body. You got to clear the bins in your mind as well. I mean, like, see all these thoughts that come and go within my mind. Firstly, let me not attach to them because they're not mine. And secondly, let me put them off to the side and kind of become a mental martial artist and karate chop away these negative thoughts and only kind of keep the good ones in my system.
It's when we were talking about mental diet. So you have your mental diet of what you mentally absorb, you know, what stuff you read or what you watch, but at the same time, when you're trying to set your mind to a higher frequency, you are going to receive more thoughts, or you might receive more negative. That's where the other part of mental diet comes in, you know, digesting and, like you said, chopping away the ones that don't serve you.
100%. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're having a higher percentage of negative, or let's not say negative, let's say thoughts that don't serve you compared to ones that do serve you, then your reality is going to reflect that, and you're going to have a more, let's call it negative for the sake of it, reality. Do you know what I mean? So again, it goes back to mindset. Are you the one setting your mind to a certain frequency, or is the environment controlling your mindset, setting the mind for you?
I was just going to say that, yeah. Is it setting it for you, or are you doing it yourself?
Exactly. So that's what mindset means. Oh, he's got a really good mindset, that guy. That means he or she works at setting that specific frequency vibration in his or her mind.
Yeah, they've programmed
it.
reality.
Yeah, and they've done it consciously.
Yeah.
They've put some thought into it instead of it being unconscious, because that's what modern day marketing and capitalism and all this other stuff is designed to do. It's designed to hijack your mindset and kind of set it for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Modern day news and all this, that, the other, it's all negative, woe is me, a victim, you should be afraid of X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to set your mind kind of for you. You set your mind. That is your superpower.
Program you for fear, because that's one of the lowest sort of frequencies, isn't it?
100%.
Energies to sort of live off. Because it's very primal, sort of instinctive.
And we'll speak about that in a second when we go on to chakras, which we will in a minute.
We'll speak about that. So should we move on to astral sort of plane?
Yes, yeah, for sure.
I think just to point out, so in case there's anyone who's completely new to it, out of all the planes, you've got highest, like we said, is the mental plane. Below that, you've got the astral plane. Below that, you've got the etheric plane. Then below that, the bottom one, the lowest one, is the physical plane, which is what you see with your two physical eyes. The higher up you go, the higher of a vibrational sort of frequency they are, and obviously the lower you go, the lower they are. So we spoke about the mental plane is the highest. Below that is the astral plane. So the mental is the thought. It must be a thought first. The astral plane is the imagination. It's a thought, and then you have to imagine what it would look like.
It's basically the dream world is the astral plane.
Yeah. So if you were thinking of, say, inventing or creating a different, so easy example, a chair. If you thought to yourself, I need something to relax me without me lying down. I don't want to be stood up, but I don't want to lie down. That's the first, that goes through the mental plane. And then the second part below that is the astral plane. You'd start imagining what this thing or object would look like. So maybe you want it to have 4 legs, or maybe you want it to be a bench like what we're sat on, it has 2 legs, but it's a bit longer. Or maybe you want a bar stool where it only has 1 leg, but it's a big circular leg. It's got a backrest and a seat. You start imagining what it looks like. It's the thought, right, I want to sit down, and then you imagine what the product looks like in the astral. That's, like you said, that's the dream world. That's the mental projector that you have in your mind. That's what you see.
100%. And when Lewis said the higher up you go, the higher you vibrate, basically just means the faster things move.
Yeah. The more like, the less, what's the word? I can't, blanking on the word. It's like the less physical it is, the more like, what's the word?
I get you.
It's gone from me.
I get what you mean though. So basically, if you look at how fast your mind thinks different thoughts, it goes very, very fast. You know what I mean? You think one thing and then the next thing and then you can think 1,000 thoughts in like a minute. You know what I mean?
So the more like sort of formless it is, that's
Yeah.
where I was looking for. The higher up you go, the less formless it is. The lower down you go,
The more physical it
the more
becomes.
physical it becomes, which is why again the physical plane is the bottom one.
So the physical plane is what is vibrating the slowest. So we're in the slowest kind of version of reality,
Yeah.
because they're all real. They're all versions of reality. They just vibrate at different frequencies.
Good way to think of it is you learn in science when you're a kid. You've got solids, liquid, gas. Solid, the particles don't vibrate as much. The liquid, they move slightly more. Then the gas is like the most
A lot
formless.
faster.
It's all over the place.
Exactly.
Apply that to your planes of reality.
Exactly, for sure. So, if the mental is like the gas, the formless, shapeless gas, let's call it, then it vibrates very fast. Like I said, you can think loads of thoughts. You can think multiple thoughts in one go. You can think, it goes really, really fast. Then when we go into the astral kind of plane, again, it's still very fast. If you think about your dreams, you can be in one place and then the next minute you're in somewhere else, and the whole dream is totally different, and it chops and changes. Do you know what I mean? And then eventually, after the etheric, it goes down to the physical, and this is the slowest kind of version of the vibratory frequency that we're in, you know, the solid. So how we, again going back to the beginning, how our thoughts then become our reality, it starts with our thoughts, and the higher or the more percentage that you stay in certain type of thoughts, then that kind of leaks down into it becoming a physical thing. But it doesn't happen straight away, because this reality is vibrating slower than the mental reality, if that makes sense.
It's like a rite of passage. It can't just appear. It has to be the thought, has to be imagined. We'll move on to the etheric next, where it has to have an emotion tied to it, and then it gets birthed into reality, which is this physical plane. But it has to go through all of those stages to, you know, be in front of our physical eyes.
For sure, exactly. So a good way of thinking of it is the reality that you live right now, the physical reality that you live right now, is a result of the accumulation of all the thoughts, visions and feelings that you've been having kind of throughout your whole life. You know, this is just the result of it.
This is the physical experience of, you know, the higher levels.
So if you don't like your physical experience at the moment, then you need to, it starts off with thinking different, seeing differently, feeling differently, and you've got to stay in that frequency vibration for a long enough period of time for it then to become the physical energy that you see and feel around you on a day-to-day basis. You know what I mean? Just like me and Lewis doing this podcast maybe a year and a half or so ago, it was a thought in our brain, you know, then it became a vision of how we want it to look, and then we
want
added
to film outside rather than sitting in a studio.
Exactly.
You know, in shit light.
How's that going to feel? Oh, it's going to feel so much better because we're out in nature. It's going to be a lot more calming for the audience to see and feel as well. You know, we're going to have to feel all of the environments. It's cold today, it's hot today, it's windy today, it's rainy today, etc., etc. So all this kind of played out throughout our mind first and our feelings first, and then eventually it became reality. It doesn't happen overnight. You've got to work at it, you've got to train at it. Just like in the gym, I can't do biceps once and have 22-inch pythons like fucking Hulk Hogan. Do you know what I mean? I've got to work at it for a certain period of time, and then it manifests into the physical.
You've got to train your thoughts like you train your body.
You got to train your thoughts, you got to train your vision, and then you got to train your feelings. Then it becomes reality. So
Should we move on to etheric?
Yeah, go for it.
Actually, I was going to say, before we move on, the way I was taught about like these planes, like you got the mental, you got the astral, but the way I was taught was there's 3 sections to the astral plane. It's got higher astral, middle astral, and lower astral. So the way you can dissect the astral plane is dependent on the frequency that you're operating at determines which section it gets put in. So for example, if you're operating on a high vibrational sort of emotion, say like from a place of love, it's going to get put on the higher astral. Whereas if you're operating or you're trying to imagine certain things through hate, let's say you were thinking of killing someone, for example, as an extreme scenario, that'll get put on the lower astral plane, depending on how loving or how hateful your thoughts are will determine which of those three sections it gets put on. Or if just you're thinking like purely platonic and there's not much sort of, you know, emotion behind it, it's just on the middle astral. But it's one of them where it's like, I'm not sure different sort of spiritual teachings are like religions, you know, how you've got like, you know, you've got Roman Catholic, but then you've just got Christian, or you've got like Jehovah's Witness sort of thing. It's like all Christianity, but it's different. I don't know if everyone dissects the astral into three like that.
For sure, and it's very important, and again it's an experiment that you can do with yourself. This is a very interesting one when it comes to dreams. In my experience, how you feel in the dream changes the dream in real life. Do you know what I mean? So if you're in that fearful state in your dream, then that's what you kind of attract. Do you know what I mean? In your dreams, if you're in that like you said, platonic kind of middle astral state, then you just have mundane dreams about random things. But if you're in a really high frequency vibration, maybe throughout your day or right before you go to bed, then you start dreaming about all sorts of miracles happening to you, and you being able to control your dreams. But again, like I said, your dreams are very much controlled by your thoughts and your feelings, you know. So if you think a certain way, if you feel a certain way, if I feel like I'm in such a high state that I can fly in my dreams, then you will. If you feel like you're stuck in the mundane everyday grind and you can't get out of the 9 to 5, then that's when you start having dreams of you're running away from things and you can't run, and you know what I mean. And also, I swear down, I've had dreams where it's like things are chasing me, I can't run, and then I remind myself like, bro, you're the shit, like you can just fly away if you want. And then I just start you know what I mean? Everything just go like, everything wipes away. The whole dream frequency changes. I go from like the lower astral realm straight into the higher one. Do you know what I mean? So it's all determined by your thoughts and your feelings. And that's, if you could, the dream world is just a faster kind of vibratory world of the real world. Things change a lot faster in the dream world. Things take a little bit more time to change in the physical world, and that's where discipline comes in. But yeah.
I was going to add to that. So we spoke about thoughts coming into reality, mental, astral, etheric, physical. When you're going to sleep, you're going from physical to etheric to astral to mental. So when you said that it's dependent on your feelings, that's because your feelings are in the etheric part of it, and then it gets projected through the astral, which is that mental sort of cinema screen in your mind, and then thoughts is above that. So when you want a thought to come into reality, it's going like the opposite way around. It's going mental all the way down to physical. But when you're going, going to sleep, you're going from physical up the ladder the other way.
So a really good way of, again, we spoke about this in the breathing, lying back, relaxing all your body with conscious belly breathing. That's going to put you in a calmed state of being, and then you can start to kind of feel certain feelings that you want to feel, that you want to take into the astral world with you. Do you know what I mean? The feeling of accomplishing something, or the feeling of being loved, or loving somebody, or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's a great point to make. You know, go from the physical, ground the physical experience with some conscious breathing, nasal breathing. Again, watch episode 9.
11.
11. Is it 11?
12, now 11, yeah.
Yeah, but 11 was mental wealth. 10 was it? 9 or 10, whatever it was.
Losing count.
Yeah, whatever it was. Anyway, so relax.
It's like episode 400 and something.
watch the breathing episode. That's all I'm gonna say. You got to calm your physical down, because our physical can be kind of overwhelming at a certain point. Relax it. Then start programming your feelings. How do you want to feel? Then you take that into your mind's eye, into the astral. Then you start having better dreams, and then your mindset starts becoming better as a whole. You know what I mean?
But like you were saying about when you're in a state of fear in your dream, for example, so you can't, something's chasing you, you can't run away, sort of thing. I find with stuff like that, I'm more likely to wake up. So when I said before about dissecting the astral plane into 3 categories, higher, middle, lower, that lower state is the fear or the hatred. It's quite a low vibrational energy to operate on. It sort of makes sense that I'd be more likely to wake up because it's a lower frequency. It's closer to the physical plane. It's more likely to make you snap back into the physical because it's such a low. It drags you back down the ladder. It's like crabs in a bucket sort of thing. It drags you down because it's a low. It's not a good mental place to be in. Whereas the higher you are, like you said, the more you rise up. That sort of thing. I was like, what I was thinking then. It makes sense, doesn't it?
It does, 100%. Right? Shall we tie this into the game of life and how to play it?
We need to speak about the etheric
next. Okay, yeah, go on.
So, to go back over it, mental, astral, you've got etheric, then the physical. So the etheric is the emotion that you put into something. You invest your emotion into the thought, into the imagination. That emotion that's tied to the imagination is what births it into reality. So the word ether, E-T-H-E-R, is in the word together because it joins 2 things together. It's the bridge between sort of the mental space and the physical world. That's what allows it to be birthed into this world sort of thing.
100%. There's a really good book by
While you think of that, I've just thought with the word ether, it's like the word either. So when you use the word either in a sentence, you're connecting 2 different ideas together. It's the marriage of 2 separate entities into one. So you either support Liverpool or you support Man United. Liverpool and Man United are 2 separate entities joined together in a sentence by the word either. So it's the same with the ether, the etheric plane. It drags the mental and the physical together to make it one. It's like the womb, it's like the birth, the baby coming out of the mother into the physical world. It ties them and sews them planes together.
For sure. I'm going to blank on the author's name, but there's a really good book called Feeling is the Secret. So once you envision something...
Right, mate.
So once you envision something in the mental plane and the astral plane, then, like you said, Lou, the thing that drags it down into this physical is the feelings that you attach to that idea and that vision. You know what I mean? So, yeah, your feelings are very important. Yeah, your feelings are very important. They help you kind of manifest your mental ideas and your mental visions into reality a lot faster, you know. So having a positive feeling associated with a certain idea is massively important. Again, we'll use a podcast as an example. Me and Lou had the idea, had the vision, and then the feeling towards it was like, we can't wait to do this. This is going to be the shit. This is the best podcast in the world. Like, you know what I mean?
Sleepless nights as well. Thinking about it, like
of having that exciting feeling.
And like
you know what I mean?
Sort of the love for doing it.
Exactly.
That's what birthed this into.
And it wouldn't have got birthed if we had a good thought, a good vision, but the feeling was, what are people going to think?
Yeah.
Trolls, this, that, the other. We don't want to show ourselves on camera, etc., etc. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't have became reality then, you know what I mean? So putting a positive feeling onto ideas is massively important.
To finish this section, if we go back to my chair analogy, you've got the chair, you've got the thought of the chair on the mental plane, you've got the imagination of the chair on the astral plane. What is it going to look like? When it comes down to the etheric plane, that's the emotion that gets put into it. So you might not have enough chairs in your house. You might want to create a chair as like a random example. you're really sick of not being able to relax. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe you don't have, maybe someone's coming around to visit and you don't want, you know, them to feel left out while you sat down having something to eat. That sort of emotional drive and sort of intention that you put into it determines how quickly or how effectively it gets birthed into the physical plane, which is again is the bottom one.
For sure, 100%. Shall we move on to chakras, or shall we call it a day on that? I mean,
Should we touch a little bit, because you were saying about how it plays into like the game of life?
So,
yeah.
2 book recommendations. Number 1, Feelings is the Secret by Neville Goddard, just remembered his name. The second book recommendation is The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. Very, very good book, and it basically breaks down this reality, how, again, like we've just broken down, how it starts mentally, then it becomes a vision in the astral, then it becomes a feeling in the etheric, and then it becomes a reality. How to play that game so that you play by the rules, per se, you know what I mean? Instead of you always going against the rules and not getting the results that you want, you know. So there's certain things in our reality that you need to know to understand the rules of the game, if that makes sense.
You can program your reality, program your simulation
however you want it to be, you know. So everything on a macro scale happens on a micro scale as well at the same time. Just like we mentioned the universe being a macro ocean, but we are the micro droplet of water in the ocean, you know. So the micro affects the macro and the macro affects the micro, because they're both the same thing, but in essence, you know what I mean? So me changing my reality changes the whole reality for the whole universe, you know. So when you start to understand we're in a certain solar system, you know, that is influenced by, say, planets. We're all revolving around the sun. I'm gonna glaze over this very quickly, because this is probably a separate podcast. But we're all revolving around the sun. We have different planets and all that. We have the exact same system, solar system, in a macro sense, in our chakras. I have my solar plexus chakra, which is in the center of my body, and all the other chakra wheels are kind of spinning around that solar plexus, if that makes sense, you know. So once you start to understand more about the physical reality, then you understand more about the mental reality, and you understand about all of reality in and of itself. And that's what we're trying to do with our podcast. We're basically trying to give you a bit more of a extended user manual to all these different ideas for you to take away and use in your game of life. Does that make sense?
Like the blueprint we gave to you of the different planes of reality. If there's something you don't like in your physical reality, this is where you can stop, apply the blueprint, retrace your steps, go back up the ladder from the physical. How did you feel about it? How did you imagine it? What was the initial thought? And you can sort of work your way up and down that ladder to sort of pinpoint maybe where you're going wrong, what bad thoughts you're having. Maybe if you've got a negative reaction or emotion tied to something, you know, to let go of, say it's like a childhood trauma sort of thing, that's going to affect how it presents itself in the physical. What emotion have you got tied to it? What do you imagine when you think of that experience? What's the thought that you initially have or had when it happened, sort of thing. So it's like what psychologists don't want you to know, pretty much, because they'd be without the job.
Facts. So all of this we spoke about is in the mind, you know, and there's a physical representation of it that's easy for you to understand, which is the chakra system. So now we're going to tie the mental kind of blueprint that we've laid out into a physical blueprint as well for you to actually look into, you know. So chakras are basically like energy centers where most of the kind of nerves accumulate in your body.
And your organs as well.
And organs and everything else like that is connected to it. So the first chakra is your root chakra, which is in the base of your spine. which is like the bottom part of your body, you know, and that is associated with the color red. And again, we spoke about this before. It's this root chakra is all to do with safety. It's all to do with am I. It's I am, basically. So the representation of the root chakra is I am safe, or I am unsafe. You know, that's the first thing you need to be concerned about in the whole of this reality. Because if you're not safe, then you can't do any of the other things. You know what I mean?
It's instinctive.
It's instinctive. Yeah.
Primal sort of thought.
Exactly. So this is the chakra that you first need to understand and master before you go up the ladder of all the other chakras. And again, just like it starts with the mental side, it starts with the mind. The mindset is I am a winner, or I am organized, or I am this, you know. So the root chakra is very much, it's associated with that first step in the kind of mental plane as well, you know. So this is the chakra that, again, you mentioned it before, that gets attacked the most as well, you know, because if they can break that foundation kind of stone, then everything else gets crumbly on top of it, you know. So hence why Mackey's and KFC and all these other things are the colour red, like you mentioned.
Red is the lowest colour of vibration. It's like associated with fear and danger. You know, you look at the road signs, for example, the ones
Stop
it's red. Like you said, Mackey's, KFC, the things that put you in that lower vibrational energy of safety, of like, you know, hunger, safety, shelter, water, sex, any of that stuff, it's red for that reason, because it wants to drag you into that mind state.
It does indeed. So once you understand and master the root chakra level, then you go up to the next one, which is a sacral chakra, which is basically by your sexual organs, and that's the I feel. Again, that goes hand in hand with the mental astral, and then you go to the etheric, you know what I mean, the feeling. So then you got and that's orange. So it goes from red, root chakra, orange, sacral chakra, and that is, again, I feel this way, I feel that way, etc., etc. So then you got to kind of understand and analyze the feelings that you are putting towards these mental ideas, you know. Again, once you master that level, then you go to the next level, which is the solar plexus, the solar chakra here in the middle, which is yellow, and that is I do. So once you master I am, and you set your mind to I am this type of person, I feel this type of way, results in I do these type of actions. Just makes sense, you know. So that's when it becomes physical, into the physical reality. You're laughing at all the ducks. Yeah, there's like thousands of them on this field behind us. But anyway, so that's the next one, is the doing. That yellow chakra in the middle, the solar chakra, is very much associated with your identity. It's your actions are a result of how you think and how you feel, and then who you ultimately become in reality, you know. So that's the next one. After that is the heart chakra, which is green, and that is the I love, you know. Once you get to that stage of being, doing, and having a certain way of being, then you start to love your reality. You start to love other people. You start to understand that everybody's playing this game, and then you can come at them with more compassion, because you understand that you're just not understanding the rules of the game and messing up yourself by having the wrong feelings and thoughts.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you say last week the colour green is good for cleansing?
For sure, yeah, exactly.
So that's why, because that's loving sort of thing, it's like an emotional sort of cleanse.
100%, it's an emotional cleanse, exactly. So then you start to let go of a lot of baggage, you know what I mean? Because you start to understand the game that we're all playing. We're all the universe, playing different roles, and understanding this game of reality, you know. So heart chakra, I love. After you start to have that compassion, you start loving certain things. The next one is the throat chakra, which is blue, and that is I speak. So what me and Lewis is doing now is we're speaking our truth, we're speaking our love, we're speaking what we're passionate about, and we're spreading that message to other people so that hopefully it will help you in your life. You know what I mean? After that is the third eye chakra, which is like a violet colour, or an indigo colour, sorry, from blue to indigo. And then that is, you start having better visions of reality, you start having better ideas, you start seeing things from a different perspective, from your inside. Just like at the beginning of the podcast, I mentioned everything in reality is being played within your own brain, basically, and how you perceive things is how it plays out, you know. So that's that one. And then the top one is the crown chakra, which is the I know, which is the colour violet or purple. And then you start having knowledge of the whole of the system and how the game of life works. And when you know better, you can do better. And that's why they say knowledge is power, because when I have a certain amount of knowledge, I have power over myself. When I have power over myself, I have power over my reality, because I can choose to perceive things in a better way or a worse way or a whatever way I want it.
So it's the purple, isn't it? The crown. It's purple's the highest colour of like
Frequency.
Vibrational energy. And I mean, before we finish, I'll leave you all with this thought. They want you to wear sun cream to block ultraviolet light. Purple
Ultraviolet, violet.
Ultraviolet, ultra purple.
Yeah.
Crown chakra, highest frequency of light, most powerful, and they want you to block it.
Facts.
So, I'm not going to say any more than that, but put two and two together. There's a reason people don't want you to absorb ultraviolet light, the most and it's when the sun is most powerful, you get the most ultraviolet light. That's the light frequency they want you to block. There's a reason for that.
But no, modern medicine will tell you that the sun is bad for you and it causes cancer and all this other stuff, and like you said, wear sunscreen and whatever else. But hey, what do we know?
No, don't listen to us.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the other thing I'll say is, we spoke about this before we came out. A random example, the first one that came to mind was Queen Elizabeth. She died like a year or two ago, but search up pictures of her, go on Google Images, you'll find just a lot of pictures of her wearing purple.
Purple is associated with royalty, you know?
Yeah.
And you are royalty because you have a purple chakra sitting on top of your head that you need to tap into.
You all do. All of us do.
We all do.
Just for you to awaken that part of your body yourself, or that part of your mind, your mind's eye.
Yep.
Which if you listen to the podcast, main notes, whatever, you'll have a better understanding of how to do that, how to start to apply it.
Cool. No more free game for today, guys, I think.
Yeah.
We'll call it that.
Yeah, you've had enough today.
100%. On to the next one. I'm not going to say what our next one's going to be about yet, because we've got loads of topics we can speak about, so look forward to the next one anyway.
Email is askartofficial@gmail.com. Clips are on everything. Rates on audio if you want. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Episode 13.
Much love.
See you in the next one.